This story started some 20 years ago when my wife Corian had a lucid dream or vision, which she told me about, and what she said was, you know, I saw myself on the balcony of a large mansion, and I was looking down on the field in front of it, and I saw you walking there with a group of students. And I felt very grateful and very much at home and at the right place. Wow, that was a lovely tale. And I've always been a teacher, even when I practiced as a therapist. And it sounded like a dream, something I would love to do sometimes, but we didn't give it very much thought after that. Until a couple of months later, I had a vision, and in my vision, I saw myself and felt myself standing on a terrace in front of a house, and French windows were behind me, and I was looking out over a quite beautifully kept field, and I thought, wow, this is beautiful. And the climate was very nice, very gentle, like Mediterranean gentle, but it looked British. So I was wondering in this vision, from where is this? Well, let's turn around and let's look at the house. So I turned around and went inside. It was quite a large room. And then it struck me, this is Corian's vision. I'm in her vision. That's strange. What would it mean? Well, we hoped both, when I told her, that it would mean that one day we would find that house where I could be a teacher and she could be the manager of whatever it was, a center or something like that. But then the idea gradually faded again, and sometimes we wondered, would it exist and where would we find it? And then Corian had the idea, or our son did, I don't know. You can use Google Maps and look around areas. We didn't have any idea where to look, but it felt to me like the climate that I felt must mean it's probably in south of France or something, but by the looks of it, it looks British. Until years later, when I was a third grade student in a course in regression therapy, I was mentor to a first year student who was a young man, and we started talking. I don't know how we came to this subject, but I told him about this vision. And then he said, oh, hang on. I used to be a professional soldier, and I've walked the hills of Wales many times with a heavy load on my back. And I can tell you that although it is British, the climate is very gentle. It's on the southern Gulf Stream. And I thought, oh, wow, Wales, I never thought about that. Maybe it's in Wales. So we took some time to look on Google Maps if we could spot such a place somewhere in Wales, but we couldn't. But the idea stuck. And very much a long time later, I don't know how much time later, the subject came up again when I was talking to someone, and I told him about it and said, maybe it's in Wales. And then next to my left ear, someone said, Dorset! I said, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. Well, if you know that's it, and that it's in Dorset, maybe you also know where in Dorset. And then he said, Oak Grove. And I thought, well, thank you, Oak Grove. There may be 100 oak groves in Dorset, but I didn't know. Once again, we looked on Google Maps, and Google Maps showed only one area in Dorset that is called Oak Grove. Now it became interesting.
There wasn't anyone standing next to you.
Oh, there wasn't anyone standing next to me. This was not a physical person standing next to me, but I did hear the voice quite clearly, and we could communicate, which was nothing new to me, by the way. But looking on Google Maps and trying to find a large mansion with a big lawn or fields in front of it proved more difficult. We did find Oak Grove. It is a wooded area. Some institutions are carrying the name Oak Grove there. And at some point we found a house. We thought that might be it. Let's take a look. So we booked, Corian booked a holiday in Dorset. And she went to find a holiday house, and she found a lovely house. It's it's called Sea Spirit, and it's a house owned by Dawn Roberts. Maybe some of you know her. And when we arrived, we were very much impressed by the beauty of the place and the atmosphere and the care that spoke of its owner, who was not there, but we were in email contact. We had email contact. So when we were settled in, I sent her an email and I said, well, what a lovely place you have. How nicely kept, what beauty, what care speaks of everything. We're so lucky to be here. And she replied, you're obviously the right kind of people. So we had some more contact, and she, in one of her emails, said, you're free to browse through my books. Maybe you find something of interest there. And maybe you could look at this or that book. So she directed me to two books by the same author. The first book was the story of how that author had found her way and created a therapy, and it was technical about that therapy. And I thought, well, that's nothing new to me. And I browsed through it very quickly. But the second book was this one. I don't know if you can, So Lightning. It is written by Amina Rahim. And Amina Rahim, in the second book, writes out her life story and how she finds Subud and Bapak, and how she goes to Chilandak and stays in Bapak's house. And that sounded very interesting to me. So when we got home, I thought, well, if Subud is as Amina Rahim describes, maybe there is a Subud in Holland too. And I looked on the internet and I found a Subud group not 10 minutes away from where we live. So I asked, said that I was interested and asked to join it. And then I did Latihan regularly with them. And the idea of starting a center in Dorset grew and became more real. And I started thinking about programs. And I was really touched. Oh, well, I'm skipping one thing that's important. After the first time that when I was opened, at the night that I was opened, and when I met all the members of the group, after coming home, I had a dream, vivid dream. In the dream, I was in a large house, an old house with wooden floors and high windows, and it looked really old and, let's say, well lived in. And every member of my group that I had just met came into that house. They were there visiting me, curious about my life and my history. And I remember thinking in my dream, well, that's quick. We've only just met. And you're already here, you're already looking at my life, and you're already interested. And it struck me that we are indeed a spiritual family. There is no coincidence when we come together. And this gave me the idea that a spiritual family and the feeling that we have of being a family and the loving atmosphere that is immediately there when we come together is something that might be beneficial to many people, not only people in Subud, but especially people who don't have this family. And I started thinking about how could we create something like that for people who are single, live alone, and have no real, so to speak, family anywhere near or friends they can rely on. So that is, in very short terms, how the Latihan and the Subud family inspired me to create this program. And that was before COVID-19 struck. My idea was to offer this program to people and who could come together physically. But COVID, of course, put an end to that. And I was a bit disappointed, but I thought we just have to wait until it's over. But then people younger than I said, but you can do this online. I at first didn't believe it, but then I got so many confirmation from all kinds of people we know. They said, yes, nowadays you can do that online, and it works. When you have a Zoom conference or a Zoom chat, or I was already used to talking through Skype to people who were far away, but you can really connect, and it's not just superficial. You can connect heart to heart, even though you're not close, even though it's through internet. Well, I was a bit skeptical, but I think I'm growing to get used to the idea and hoping that it's possible, that it will really work, and thinking about ways to use that to design programs to help people. So that's in very short story of how Subud and the Latihan inspired us and what we want to do. And by now, we already have a website and put it out in the world, but of course we are not very well known on the internet. There's so much, many people who offer all kinds of things, but I have very great confidence that this will take off. So we just pray and put our faith in Almighty God and hope it will take off and help many people. So if you have any questions, I'd be very pleased to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions? They raise their hand.
Oh, Tina?
Well, I just wondered if you are coming to Britain.
As soon as we can, at the first opportunity that we see, we will.
And are you looking at Wales or are you looking at Dorset?
No, we're looking at, we actually visited Dorset another time. It's the area, Oak Grove, is right where Ellison lives.
Or very close.
Very close to that. And but we have not found the house of our vision yet. And at the moment, the past few years, we've been caretakers of Corian's parents. Her father had dementia, But now he passed away, and we helped her mother to move to a smaller house this summer. And I'm sorry? Last summer, okay. And now we'll move out of her old house, which is far too large, and she sold it. So we decided for the moment we'll stay close to her and help her out a bit more. But if there's a real possibility, we won't hesitate. We will come to Dorset.
Fantastic.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Martin, if you unmute yourself, Martin.
Well, Jamil, the Wessex group in Dorset will welcome you.
Thank you.
Yes. Just let us know.
Yes,
We'll
we
put
will.
the kettle on.
Love that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good.
Good.
Anyone else?
It's a very inspiring story,
Thank you.
Jamil.
Mm.
It feels really heartfelt, and it's a very touching story.
Thank you.
Jamil, Arifin here in Canada. Hi.
Yeah.
Now I see your website is oakgrove-inspiration.org, and I was just looking at your website, and it seems like the soul families is really the heart of what you're doing. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So just in terms of people remembering this concept, and also that being part of how you're communicating, I don't know if soulfamilies.org or with any other suffix is available, but I would suggest you might consider that as part of how you're getting the word out and the concept, and because Soul Families is really a beautiful collection of two words, and to sort of consider that in the way that you're communicating.
Thank you, Arfin. I'll look into it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamil. And has anybody else got any questions?
Oh, where are you in the world, Jamil? Sorry.
In the Netherlands, in Holland.
Netherlands. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that was an extraordinary story. Really following one's guidance. It's great.
Yes.